A lot of people say, Steve, are you a Ginger or a Marianne guy? I've always been a Marianne Ahern guy. Always. I mean, you can look that up. That's historic. I'm always a Marianne guy.
Oh, my goodness. I'd wake up for you guys anytime. Oh, my goodness.
Good morning to you. Nice to talk to you as always.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year. Here's your friend, Andre.
Happy New Year. Hi, Marianne. I love my Thelma and I love my Louise. Are you guys getting it back together for the primary coming up? And I want to talk about some of the biggest local races. I'm thinking state's attorney might be the big one on the Chicago ticket this year.
Yeah, I'm reading this morning, and I've just been texting with them that there will be a side-by-side comparison today. I said, okay, got to have cameras in there. Oh, we're not sure. Let's, I'll get back to you.
No. Did you say, do you know who I am?
Right. Yeah, do you know how many people have told Marianne Ahern they'll get back to her?
Right.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, but that race between Clayton Harris and Eileen O'Neill Burke is really going to be the marquee local race, and we're going to be keeping a really close eye on what's going on. Yeah.
They were both in here in the last 2 weeks. She answered questions, and she was very direct. He not so much so. How does he get around the idea that he's Tony Preckwinkle / Kim Foxx's handpicked candidate?
Well, I don't think he can, and I think you go ahead and embrace it. And say, you either have to say that or you pretend that it isn't real, and that's just not possible. So you say, listen, Tony Preckwinkle has a history of, if you're a Tony Preckwinkle supporter, of running a county and go for her assets, whatever you think they might be, to say that you're not her hand, it would just not be truthful. So he does have obviously has a background and a history of working aside from that. But when I met with both of them, I had very interesting answers on, everyone's sick of the Jussie Smollett story, but Clayton Harris couldn't even answer it directly. And yet Eileen Burke it wasn't as if she was didn't have any trouble with some of the questions as well. I'm not trying to, but they're very, she's had a lot of judicial experience. He has been more of a law school professor, and behind the scenes, it's going to be a decision for the county of what is the route they want to take. What's the direction that the county wants to go?
Right.
It's a big one.
It really is. Cook County's so vast. I mean, you're going all the way north to the far northern suburbs, then you're going all the way south down to, Tinley Park area, Frankfurt area. But so it's a vast question. And I think most voters, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marianne, crime is of the utmost concern. And I think they would want a candidate more tough on crime. And she seems to be answering those questions a little bit more harsh and more direct than he is at this point.
Well, and yet you wonder, Jim Durkin, former House Minority Leader, who certainly was someone that was considered a centrist, really eyed this race to run as a Republican and looked at it very, very hard and decided in the end not to run, and had to, I would think, have polls and had people talk to him and say, can you really do this? And if you ever thought that a Republican could win in a county-wide race, you would think that this might be the race to do that because of the crime. So that does leave me with pause to say you just never know.
The primary turnout matters. Nobody harps on this more than I do. If you want change, you've got to vote. You got to step up. You got to vote. You got to show up. You got to vote. Is the turnout expected to be reasonably higher in a presidential election year, or are we too far from that to even draw on it?
Yeah, I do think we are. I guess we've got to see, at this point, where are we going to be on March 19th? There might be a few other local races. Of course, there's going to be the congressional primary for Danny Davis's seat that might draw folks there for that on the west side. I think we're still too far because right now it looks like the coronation of Trump and Biden, but hey, everybody's expecting, a surprise here or there on that side. So, yeah, this is a toss-up. I don't think you can predict the state's attorney race at any point. Way too far.
Yeah, very much so. Primaries March 19th. Marianne, I want to talk to you briefly about the city council as well. Just there's been, I don't want to say council wars by any stretch, but there's been a lot of mini battles. There's been lights going off. I don't want to ask if the mayor's losing control of the city council.
Go ahead, ask it.
But the migrant crisis, wow, it just seems like that is really starting to fuel what could be a big, big fire coming, if it hasn't already.
Oh, wow. I mean, the dumpster fire is large. It is already. And this weekend, there is a humanitarian crisis. I mean, 8 below, 20 below wind chills. What are we going to do with people that are living outside? And with the Democratic Convention coming to Chicago in August, we will be an example of the immigration crisis across the country. There will be more migrants sent here, already some 30,000. I mean, that is the size of some towns that we know.
Easily.
Right.
And, the city is just completely overwhelmed, and the state. And there's a friction between the governor and the mayor on it. And that doesn't help. It seems as if, I don't know, speaking to former Mayor Rahm Emanuel yesterday, he had an interesting thought. He said, hey, the military, find a former military guy they are fantastic on logistics. Find a former military guy who is great on organizing, and get a czar, a migrant czar. You know how
they love the czars.
He loved titles, but it's not a bad idea.
Nope.
Hey, they whipped up McCormick Place that was not used pretty quickly. Where is someone with fantastic logistic skills to say, here's what we got to do?
The guy that handled New Orleans after Katrina keeps coming back for storms. That kind of person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I can't think of his name, so I apologize for that. Hey,
I love Marianne's interview with Rahm, by the way. It was really good. Check it out.
NBC5, Google that up. And I texted with Rahm last night. He's going to be on with us next week. Because obviously I don't beat Marianne to the punch on these things.
He said check with Marianne first.
Yeah. Marianne, real quickly before we go, why hasn't Governor Pritzker at any point stood up and said to the governor of Texas, okay, you've made your political points. You continue to make your political points. We're handling this as best we can. In every red state, there is more space and more resources than we have in Chicago. So how about leaning on the Dakotas? How about leaning on other states? Kansas, whatever. How come he hasn't said that publicly?
I know. And I wonder if he has maybe behind the scenes. He claims yesterday. I was not there because I was doing the interview with Rahm. But he did say there is some news about these planes. Yeah, I don't know what did they limit the airspace? I don't know. He wasn't exact on giving details on that. But you got to. This is political. This is still very, very political. And Governor Pritzker would like to be considered as a presidential candidate. Anything should happen, whether or not this year in 28. So every decision that's made has some of that factor involved.
It's Marianne Ahern, NBC5. There's nobody better. We checked. We did the tests. They've all come back. They all say the same thing. Marianne's the best.
Absolutely.
So,
thanks, guys.
All right.
I'm heading to Chile, Iowa this weekend. So if you're looking for some Iowa steak info, call me next week.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marianne.
All right. Thank you. That's the great Marianne Ahern. And, she made a mistake there because we will call.
Right. We definitely will. And she did ask Rahm in the interview, this is a major tease, if he would ever consider running for office again.
Of course he will.
Well, you don't give the answer away.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Well, we don't know.
That's what he said.
You should check out the interview in complete detail.